Fear not, denizens, Parade is here, aka the bringer of rain, aka father of the sea and sun, aka the king of the core. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the first podcast on the Raincore YouTube channel. And before I introduce my illustrious guest, this is going to be the Creator Core podcast, and this is where I'm interviewing content creators. I'm going to pick their brains and get to learn a little bit about themselves. And I only found it fitting to have a good friend of mine, friend of the show. He's invited me to many of his podcasts, many of his YouTube videos, much of his content. Host of the Fan Awakens channel, cinephile, movie buff, Star Wars connoisseur, Uncle Sheev, aka Eli. Eli, how are you?
Fantastic, man. How are you doing? That was wonderful.
You were wonderful. You were wonderful. I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for being on my first ever pod. I only found it fitting just to have you because we've done, what have we done? Andor review. We did all the episodes of Andor. We did we did like right before the last episode of Ahsoka.
Yep, Ahsoka.
And then how we first got together.
Celebration Cantina was the name of that first one.
Dude, you've made some excellent content.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, let me just share that story really quick if people don't know our history. So I was going to Celebration, what was that, 2021? 2022?
Yes, 2021.
2021.
Or Anaheim, whatever that was.
Let's see. I think it was 2021. So I was researching stuff about Star Wars Celebration, and you were making content about Star Wars Celebration based on your experience in Chicago?
Yes.
And so, and it was great content, and I was watching, and then eventually, like, I think when it happened, or was it before, but you were saying you're inviting people to be on your podcast with you to talk about their experiences. And so I reached out, I said, hey, I would love to be on some content. And I've been on content before, but I was like, I like this content, and I was like, maybe expose, myself to more Star Wars people. But yeah, then we were friends after the fact.
Yeah, it just kind of worked, man. You were my first guest too, and
nice.
We've obviously made a lot of stuff since. And it's been awesome. I mean, like we've done quite a bit.
Yeah,
even if you just Andor itself, that's like 12. What? How many videos is that,
dude? Yeah, that was at least 12 episodes and over an hour on some of those.
Yeah.
So we've made like enough we made a lot of Star Wars content, and then we did the review of like all the announcements for like the upcoming movie.
We did. You're right.
Yeah, and that was like 2 hours.
That was a solid 2 hours. That's only what was on the air. Right. Probably like 6.
So you're in my opinion a great content creator. You make a lot of content. I don't think I've ever asked you what compelled you to start. So yeah. Explain your journey of content creating.
Sure, I appreciate that, man. That's very kind of you, and I do feel the same way. I think that you being on my shows has helped me grow a lot. So I just want to put that out there first. As far as like the content creation stuff goes, it started purely from my first dipping of my toe into it was I used to run a movie blog, and it was no one really read it, right? But I would go, and I think the pug is upset, so I apologize. But I remember I started this website. I loved going to movies. I went to movies like 5 days of the week, and I'm like, I just want to start sharing this. So started writing about them. I remember my first review I wrote was for Barbershop Part 3, and I brought in a little notebook, and it was like an 11 p.m. showing, and I remember I didn't know what I was doing, I don't know why in my mind I'm like, let me take notes during this movie. This is a horrible idea. But I still have that notebook somewhere.
Nice.
And these just chicken scratch notes about Barbershop 3, which was okay. But I did that for a while. I did that for like a year. The website is
just writing about blog or a movie blog.
Yep. I used to do like movie reviews, picks of the week for streaming, random like spotlights for movies I loved.
Yeah. That sounds cool, dude. Do you ever think about bringing that back, but in video form?
Yeah, I certainly thought about bringing that back, and that's something where I probably I have so many videos that have just never been published, where I'll shoot them and then I just won't get around to editing it or whatever the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely something I'd like to do. I used to, when I started writing, it's because I didn't know that I would be comfortable doing the video form of it. And I just felt stronger as a writer. Because I've always tried to write movies and screenplays and all that kind of thing. So I felt like writing was the medium for me. But there's just zero reach. I didn't know how to promote a blog. I was just writing and posting on this random blog that had zero outreach whatsoever, besides Instagram, I guess.
What was your inspiration to make a blog?
Well, I would say just I used to read reviews more than watch them because I'm 28, so I do remember before. It was weird, but I remember reading the Ebert and Robert website reviews and stuff like that, and I just love that kind of stuff. And so I just thought, I'm gonna try my own hand at it. But the funny thing is, when I started that blog, YouTube was already a thing. YouTube was very, very booming. And I was like, let me do this old timer stuff.
Yeah, let me put it in a newspaper.
Let me put it in print. But I just loved writing, and so that was the catalyst for it. Even if no one read it, I do remember having a very nice satisfaction once I wrote, edited, and finished those reviews. I was very proud of them. And so even if no one would really read it, it was cool because I know there's Letterboxd and things like that.
Sure, yeah.
But people would ask me because they knew oh, he's the guy that watched all the movies. Oh, what'd you think of this? I'm like, hey, I'll send you a link.
Nice. Yeah.
Did
you ever put a review on a Rotten Tomatoes or any of the websites where you could post a review?
That would have been so smart. No, never. I've never had a Letterboxd account. I've never posted on Rotten Tomatoes. I use Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay. Yeah. I
read reviews and whatnot, but that was tough too because I wouldn't watch reviews or read reviews before I went and saw a movie, but I was used to watching a movie and then immediately going and reading what a few people thought. But when I started trying to do it myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't, because I don't want to influence my own thoughts initially, because the thing is, if I go to see a movie and then I go to review it, if I read multiple reviews, that's already influencing the way I initially thought about it.
Right.
So that was tough, I will say.
Yeah. And how many movies did you review when you were actually doing your blog? Or guesstimate, I guess.
I didn't review everything I saw.
Yeah.
But I tried to. Oh, I don't know. Probably I don't know, maybe 50.
That's a lot, dude.
It was a lot, yeah.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. But when you take into consideration, at that time, I was just going to work, going to the movies, going home, going to work, going to the movies, going home. That was it.
Yeah. That's
I'd work 11 to 7. I'd see something from 7:30, 7:45 to, I don't know, 10, and then I catch the late showing and watch something else, and I go home.
You just lived at the movie theater.
Pretty much.
Did you ever think about working at the movie theater, or did you ever work at a movie theater?
I never did. I thought about it a bunch, but that just never happened. Never happened for me.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask. I had some other ones, but we're going so good at the movies. What's a movie that you've seen the most in the theater?
I almost don't want to say this one, but
I know you've told me a few, but I'm I don't know if that's the highest. But
Star Wars Episode 9 is actually the one I've seen the most.
Great! Wow.
I saw it 13 times in IMAX.
Nice.
All the tickets, I bought them all in advance, so that was before, so that's, that was $20 each, at the time.
Yeah.
And it was just, before that it was Star Wars Episode 8, and before that it was Captain America: Civil War. I think it was 14, 12, and 8. But I've seen a bunch of movies,
How did it?
3, 4.
How did you said it was 8? Did Force Awakens re-release, or what do you mean?
No. I'm so sorry. I saw Star Wars Episode 8 like 12 times.
Okay.
I saw Star Wars Episode 9 I think 14 times.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And then Captain America Civil War I saw like 8 times. But I mean, there's a million of them I've seen like 3, 4,
Yeah.
3, 4 times. I don't really do that as much anymore just because time and I'm tired. But it's fun.
That's fun. And that's why I appreciate about you. You have a dedication and a love for movies that most people don't have. And you're like, oh, I shouldn't say, but I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like, you've seen it that many times. I'm really bad at seeing movies in the movie theater multiple times because I think for me it's like I want to see something new. Or if it's like in depth where I'm like I'm missing things, I'll see it again. But I only saw I think I saw Force Awakens in the theater only like twice.
I mean, in hindsight, I would have gone a million times.
Yeah.
But, I was broke, so.
Right, yeah. It's probably like broke. How like when they pull the movies out, right?
Yep.
So there's only like a certain amount of run, but that's cool, man. Now, what? So continue with the journey of content creating.
Yes.
So you wrote a blog for about a year. Yeah.
And then it went to the YouTube thing, right? I was like, okay, I've been writing this thing, and no one's reading it. No one's paying attention. I had friends who would, and that's nice, and it was cool, and I was proud of it.
Yeah.
But I did want to do more. I watched a lot of Collider was huge for me back in the day.
Yeah.
Huge. Like John Schnapp and Perry Nemiroff, Dennis Zen. Those were like the 3 that I would say, opinion-wise, matched up the most. But I just love the content they made, and it was just I remember watching the Mailbag, and they used to have a mailbag show every Sunday.
Yeah.
And you'd always have questions about what do you what's your best advice for someone trying to break through in this sort of industry? And it was always just do it, just do it.
Yeah.
And that it makes sense. So what happened was I decided I wanted to do the YouTube stuff. I had a laptop. It was pretty old. Tried to make videos. It just wouldn't cut it. So then I unfortunately had to, put some more money in, get a new computer, new supplies, all that kind of stuff. And I started doing podcasts, movie podcasts.
Yeah.
Tried to do video, did audio only, put them on YouTube, put them on, the different audio platforms.
Right.
And that was great. That was probably the single most influential thing, just because I learned that I love to talk. So that was a big one. So we did a bunch of those, and I'd have my brother on, I'd have friends on, and I just got really addicted to just making podcasts. So there's probably hundreds of hours that I never published, just because any chance I had, I would just make them.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the transition from just written media to video, streaming, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, even when we have when we just talk and catch up, we could easily make our whole conversation into a podcast. I usually have to block out a Saturday for a few hours when me and Eli talk.
Yeah, it's we're gonna do an hour show and it ends up being 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
And then the hour show.
And it's great because we can cover the gambit of topics. We talk about movies and games and then sports even. It's
sports.
We could probably have a different podcast for each of those if we really wanted to. But your sports knowledge is crazy too. You an NBA man, it's insane.
Hey, the fun thing is I love talking sports with you because we can get into the nitty gritty stuff. You know what I mean? We can get into the real meat and potatoes of it, which is great. And I think that as far as podcasting goes and content creation, I think a lot of people can talk about a lot of things.
Sure, yeah.
It's just a matter of one, wanting to do it,
right.
Two, consistency, and then there's the technical side, and there's a lot of things that aren't fun, I would say, as far as editing things, making thumbnails, and I do enjoy all that stuff, but it can become okay, I'm going to make an hour podcast, we're going to record, but that 1 hour turns into a whole afternoon, day, night.
Right, for sure. And it's funny because Raincore is new, but I was making content you know, with you, and I've done podcasts before, and I was making my own like opening up Pokemon cards. So even though this is like new for this channel, I've done it already in the past, and so it's kind of like riding a bicycle. Like, okay, just trying to remember how to get back into the editing, making thumbnails and stuff. And to me, it's like a nice creative outlet. And so I've been really enjoying getting back into it, for sure. How much further does it go? Is there any more before you start with Twitch?
So basically with Twitch, it happened by accident. So I've been streaming for almost 4 years now.
Oh, wow.
Pretty consistently. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
I didn't realize
crazy,
that until like 2 days ago I was streaming and someone checked their follow age and it said 3 years and 6 months or whatever it was. I'm like, oh my God. But it happened by accident. It was COVID happened, things shut down. I stopped working, right? I was ready to move. Away from California, and so I had money saved up.
Yeah.
COVID happened, didn't happen. I ended up moving into a little 1-bedroom apartment, and I wasn't working. And so I'm like, okay, I need to upgrade my computer so I can like make content.
Yeah.
And so my brother and some friends sort of gave me the idea that maybe I should just build one.
Okay.
You know, so I built a computer, nothing crazy, but something that was capable of, you know, editing videos and things like that, not lagging.
Right.
So I built it, and then I got, you know, I already had, you know, the microphones and all that kind of stuff. It was just me alone in this apartment. I literally taped the blinds shut. It was just dark. It was something. But I remember I started playing games again, and like I hadn't been really gaming at all.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, one thing led to another. I bought a capture card and I just started streaming, and it was awesome. It was really, really fun. That COVID time was like a special time. So I went from,
it was.
I pretty much abandoned the whole YouTube podcast movie stuff because one, the theaters weren't open, nothing was coming out.
Oh, right, yeah.
So like content really slowed down.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what to do. So I thought about different things, you know, making like top 10 lists and reviewing old movies, but I started to stream just cause, and people started to watch. And so that was the intro to streaming, and I was streaming like 13 to 16 hours a day.
Dude, that's legit. I was just checking your follower count. You're almost at 1,000. It's like a little over 900.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty amazing for you know, for you like kind of building it up. Because I don't know many people who are in my circles who are actually Twitch streaming. What are the like pros and cons to Twitch? Like, would you? So I don't Twitch stream. I like video games. I haven't played like yourself. Like well, before, like you said, you weren't playing video games at the time, so I'm not playing much. But what are the pros and cons to do it? Would you recommend it to someone? Would you not? How would you go about that?
Yeah, so I will say my Twitch streaming journey has been all over the place because it started as one thing and it kind of ended up as something completely different. I think that with Twitch, when I started personally, it didn't honestly have anything to do with gaming. Gaming was just the avenue to an audience. So I started playing The Last of Us 2. Nobody watched. Not a soul. Not a soul watched that. A friend of mine watched me play through it because he didn't want to buy it. Cool. But then after I finished the game, it took me like maybe a week or so.
Okay.
I decided to play Grand Theft Auto, and people just started flooding in.
Nice.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, you know, I went from 0 or 1 to like 10, 12, 15, 20 people watching at a time. And, you know, all of a sudden I started making money from it, and it was a whole kind of whirlwind within like a week. I went from like 12 followers, which were all my friends, to like 250.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool, and it was a really fun journey, but like I always made it kind of clear that like it was just an excuse to talk as opposed to I'm here to game and you guys are here to watch me game. That was never like the thing for me. And it went like that for a while. I was streaming, you know, like I said, 13 to 16 hours a day, pretty much. We did the whole 24-hour thing, and it was my routine. And that was fun. But then it got pretty exhausting.
Dude, Doing anything for 13 hours to 16 hours would would be exhausting for sure.
And so the pros though, like if you are doing something where people are watching and people are engaging, it's super fun. It's engaging. You get to talk to people. You get to meet people. You kind of have this platform where you are in, you're pretty much in control. But the negative of that is and I have respect for the people who, kind of maintain that and do it with grace, because it didn't affect me all that much. But even me, very, very small, I had a couple hundred followers. I had like 10 to 20 people watching me. People would go in my comments and, say all kinds of stuff. And I would get like Instagram DMs, just foul, foul stuff.
Dude. People are just bored.
They are bored. And so that was like, it didn't really get to me, I would say. And we'd make jokes about it. But still, I could imagine that if you're on a, even like a slightly bigger scale, right?
Right.
And you have hundreds of people watching you.
Thousands.
Most of it is probably good. Yeah, hundreds, thousands, whatever the case. But man, people can be negative. And so I tried to steer away from that, and I did pretty good. Like I made a nice, like little stream family, right?
Yeah.
But I realized at a point, I went from streaming to stream and to make content and everything. And that was like something I wanted it to be my profession, right? I'm like, I can see this being something I want to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a full-time thing, but I was making enough money that I could kind of like supplement a part-time kind of thing.
Right.
For, I would say, probably like 6 months of it.
Okay.
And then I got burnt out. I started going back to work. So I would work for 8 hours. I'd stream for 8 hours, and then I'd sleep and just redo that for a couple months. I do it every single day. I streamed every day for over a year. And then I started taking Wednesdays off. And then I started taking, Wednesdays and Mondays off, I think.
Yeah.
And slowly, the thing is, with Twitch, it's very, 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 very focused. So I gained all this following playing Grand Theft Auto. Then I got sick of it. I'm like, I've played this for hundreds of hours. I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to try something else. I tried playing something else. They're gone. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the thing. People are there to watch you do this thing. And while there are people who will stick around because they become a fan of your content and the things that you do, that's awesome. And I still have people who I'll stream today and they'll be there from way back then. And it's really, really cool. And they're friends. But majority of them, 90% are not going to be there. They're there to watch you do one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of sucks, like, because you could get tired of it, right? Like playing playing one game for that long, and how volatile like they could possibly be, because you move on to another game. Like let's say you went from, in reverse, Grand Theft Auto to Last of Us, and I'm like, I don't want to watch Last of Us, who cares?
And that's what it is, so it kind of became a one for you, one for me kind of thing.
Yeah,
where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play Grand Theft Auto for 4 hours, and then I'm gonna play Dark Souls or whatever for 4 hours. So I'd go from, viewers to nobody. And so I started to wonder, like, should I just not stream the second half?
Oh, yeah.
But then the thing is, in my mind, I'm like, it's not hurting me. I don't, like, whether I press record or not, or stream or not, like, they're going to watch or they won't. And so I've done that for years, and it's still the same thing to a degree. Like, now for the most part, I just do whatever I want. And it's not really something where I'm pursuing it. Like I don't post when I stream or anything like that, like I used to.
Yeah.
It's more so just our little tight knit group. And when I get online, we have our fun, but it's more of an outlet now as opposed to I'm trying to become a streamer.
Right. Do you like doing the streaming, or do you like doing like YouTube video content more?
Yeah, so it's a tricky question. I was on stream 2 days ago and I said YouTube. But because I do, similar to you, I do find it like a nice creative outlet because you wear a lot of hats.
Right.
It's like when you're in our position where you're not paying, outsourcing thumbnails and outsourcing editing and things like that. We do it all ourselves, right?
Right.
And so it is fun because, you record it and that's great and that's fun. But it is also equally as fun to mess around on Photoshop or whatever and, come up with a new thumbnail or mess with the editing stuff. So I would say that it's more engaging. But if you have a lot of people viewing, it is so fun.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's the thing. Like I think it's more of a grind to Twitch because you have to always be on, in the sense that you always have to act like someone's there even if there's no one there. Because
Yeah.
and that's what I used to tell people all the time when I was, being more successful with it, is a lot of people who would watch my stream because I was smaller were also starting. And they were like, do you have advice for me, even though I have like 12 people watching me? And like, just act like that you have a bunch of people watching you, because if you don't, you're like this.
Right,
and when people join, you don't know the moment they join. They're gonna join your stream, see you doing nothing, and leave.
Oh yeah, that's true. Because even if it's like archive too, if you go into an archive video and you're not interactive, then you're not really selling. Yeah.
And it's funny because over time it just became muscle memory for me. So I pretty much, now there's some things where I'll play and not stream, but usually I stream. But even if I'm not streaming, I talk to myself. And my brother will be like, "Are you streaming?" And I'm like, "No." He was like, "Dude, you're talking to yourself." I'm like, I'm talking to the hypothetical them, right. I guess.
I think that's good practice, though. That's good practice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I don't think about it anymore. It's just what it is.
Right.
But it is something where like I feel like you always have to be on. And that's just for me. I know that some people are in it for gaming and they're just great at gaming, and people want to see someone who's great,
who's good,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
That's not me. So
yeah. No, I mean, I think you bring a lot. If you're saying you're not great at gaming, like I haven't played or seen like much footage of like it's like
I'm not bad, but I'm not great. Yeah. I'm good to average.
But I find like your video content, of what I've seen, you're definitely engaging. Like you have a great personality for that kind of stuff, and I think you bring a level of, like, we were talking about what you need to be these kind of influencers, content creators. I think you're very articulate in the way you speak, and you are able to voice your opinion in a very articulate way where most people can't. It's like you can't have like a cohesive thought. Some people
sure. I will say this. I think that is a very I mean, that's very kind of you to say. And I think that we've kind of had this conversation before, but ironically, I think that comes from the podcast and the YouTube side that bled over.
Right.
And so there's like those things that you take with everything you do. Real quick though, as far as like the whole influencer fame thing, I've always said this. It used to be a joke, but like I'm so serious. I don't have any like fame aspirations per se.
Right, yeah.
But I would love to have the level of fame where you're in the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game, but nobody knows who you are. So they're like, and Eli, and everybody's like, who's this guy? You know what I mean? But I just like whatever I've done has gotten me to that point.
Where
I can play an All-Star Celebrity
I love
game.
That goal, man. We got to make that happen. That happen. Yeah, I mean, doing my content, it's funny because even if no one was watching, like when I was doing the Pokemon card thing, I was still having a lot of fun because I'm like, I'm going to buy these Pokemon cards regardless. And so I was like, I might as well make content out of it. And if people find it and enjoy it, like it's free entertainment. So who cares?
I love that, by the way. I think that's a really cool thing too. Similar, just because with the Star Wars Celebration stuff, it's not like I'm trying to go viral with Star Wars Celebration like instructional video.
I'm going for 1 million views on the Star Wars Cantina. Yeah, no, for real.
But like you find your people, which is cool.
No, right. And I think, and that was, what was the thought process actually inviting people on to do video content with you?
Yeah, so that was the same vein as far as like when I started the Fan Awakens. It had nothing to do with Star Wars Celebration, but when I started that part of it, a lot of it was because like when I was going in 2019, I was starved for all the Star Wars Celebration content I could find. I tried to find it all, and there were some people who made really good videos, but I just wanted to make my own space and meet people who had been there and kind of people who haven't been there, right? I wanted to give them some advice because I remember going in pretty blind and being pretty lost. And so my whole thing with like doing that video where I invited people to come on was like, we all went to the convention, but we all had very different experiences, right?
That's very true.
And like, you only have so much time to do so much. And so I wanted to hear like what what you did, right? And what you saw and what you
Yeah.
experienced, because I may not have been able to do that.
Right.
I spent a whole day in a line. Like, so what did I miss?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, I like that.
And then beyond that, though, real quick, it's just nice to have that memory. Like, just because I know that I've searched YouTube looking for people's experience, and like if I can help facilitate that to some of little nice Star Wars community, I would love to do that. So
Dude,
that was kind of the thought process.
I thought it was a great idea because I was looking for how do I, and it's funny because I've been to conventions before, but this one felt a little bit more grand. Like that would probably be the biggest convention I've been to, in terms of popularity or what is it? People going, attendance. And it's funny because like your videos weren't too far from the top. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I ran into some good, podcasts talking about it, but I was like, I'm still looking for more and more insight. And then that's kind of how I ran into yours. And so, and even for like, I did my Acolyte trailer reacts, there's not that many people reacting to the trailer.
True.
And if there were, I would hope to see them in the first 20 posts, but it eventually like just drops off, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like if the people who are watching this, when I'm talking about like content creating, if you haven't something that you enjoy and you want to talk about and you feel like you have a passion for it, definitely do it. Cause I think that's why when we do our Star Wars podcast together, we could do it offline, but we're just like, let's just record it because it's fun, and maybe some people will have fun with us, like our friends or just people just kind of going around the internet. Because that's how I approached it. Like I don't go like, oh, I'm gonna go on Eli's and then we'll make go viral of talking about
no, exactly.
We just like talking about it.
And the cool thing too is I do find it like we could just talk about it, and the funny thing about you and I, at this point at least, I don't know if this is only because we've done these podcasts, but we do talk fairly pretty much the same whether we're on or off, you know what I mean?
It's exactly the same.
But I do find that like one, it makes me think about things more than I probably would on my own, which is really nice, and I get more out of it in the end. But also I agree, like if you're passionate about something, just go for it. It doesn't matter, like, maybe you will hit it big. I don't know. Maybe you'll say something funny and it goes crazy. But like the thing is, you'll find your audience, you'll find your people, even if however big or small it is. It's all your niche. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if it's something like that, I think that like us talking about this, I don't know, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, I have a lot. I mean, that's why I invited you on. I'm like, you have a lot of insight and before we started I said, hey, I don't think I've ever actually asked you about your history with content creating, because we just go straight to the fandom stuff. So I would love to record and see what hurdles that you've overcome. And I wanted to ask a little bit more about the movie stuff, and I know you've said in other podcasts about your love of Star Wars, but is it still was that still with your mom? Is that still where your love of Star Wars came from? If you want to reiterate that story.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of the intro into it.
Yeah.
I was born in 1995. Star Wars Episode 1 came out in 1999, and like my mom did take me to that, which is really, really cool. That's and cool. I'm glad that I was behaved enough to sit through that, because I wasn't the most well-behaved 3-year-old from what I hear. But like that stuck with me. It really was like a formative memory. And the thing with my mom, I love her so much. Mm-hmm. She was never like she's not like a die-hard nerd of anything, right? But she grew up reading comic books. She grew up, loving Batman and like Star Wars. She has a bunch of like Archie comics that she's passed on to me and all kinds of things. And she was very open to like, I would say she enabled me, right?
Yeah.
She enabled me to love all this kind of stuff, comic stuff and movies. And the movie side I kind of got more from my grandpa, I think.
Oh, okay.
But like the fandom stuff, I mean, it was great, She definitely was like the big influence there.
Yeah,
which is really nice.
Tell me more about your grandfather in movies. I don't think I've heard.
Yeah. So my grandpa's great. He would just, whenever he would watch movies, he just watched old movies. But I remember growing up watching a lot of westerns with him, and I just love that, because usually we hog the TV, you know what I mean? We're like, it's me and my two brothers watching Rugrats or whatever the case.
Oh, right.
But he would always say these little things like kind of he was something else. Like we were watching Tom and Jerry, and you know it's all like scored music, and he'd talk about Glenn Miller and like big band music, and like
Yeah.
it's funny because like as I grew up and started watching different movies, and I'd look up like the scores and the soundtracks, I'd see, you know, music from those very, very old musicians that he would always talk about, and so like it had that influence. But just growing up, you know, my grandpa, he was a full blood, you know, Native American Comanche. And so we would watch a lot of westerns, and obviously their view of the Native Americans in those westerns was a certain way.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, he just had a way of like making a joke out of it, but also, you know, we talk about it. But I watched a lot of old movies with him, and that was kind of where that came from.
That's cool, man. That's cool. I think for me, it was like my dad. He had so many. At the time, as a kid, you don't even realize, but we had 2 VCRs in the house, so we'd rent movies and record them. And so my dad had like this huge VHS collection.
Oh, that's awesome.
Movies. And so for me and my family, like my sisters, I had like 3 to 4 Disney movies on VHS, on one VHS. So it's like, oh yeah, we're just going to go through the gambit of movies. And eventually, like, you know, the timing all mismatches, and then one movie ends at the very end of the VHS. And you're like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I know the ending, but I don't get to see it every day. And so I was watching a lot of Disney movies growing up because we didn't have cable. So I would just pop in a VHS, and that would play for 4 hours, take it out, put another VHS in, and then another thing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And so, for me and my love of Star Wars, my dad was like, oh, let me show you this movie. And it was New Hope. And it just like blew my mind. I couldn't, like, as an adult watching that movie, because like there's movies that come out now and you're like, I can't believe I'm watching this on screen.
Sure.
But as a kid watching that kind of stuff, it's like that like made a huge imprint on me.
Seriously.
And it was nice to, I mean, by the time I was watching those movies, all of them were out, like, you know, New Hope, Empire, Jedi. So I was able to watch all 3. But yeah, it's funny because as of our recording, they're promoting the Star Wars saga 1 through 9 in the theater.
Oh yes, I'm so mad I can't go.
Why can't you go?
They're only showing it in like 7 theaters in the nation.
Oh really?
Yeah, LA, San Francisco have one each.
Oh man.
But I wanted to go so bad.
LA and San Francisco. Yeah. Oh man, that sucks. I thought it was gonna be everywhere. I feel like they could make some money from that.
Yeah.
But I'm fortunate enough that I've seen all but New Hope and Empire in the theater, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll go see it then, right? Just pop in for those 2. But I'm like, now
really close.
Now San Francisco's not far, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll make the trip because they could probably just show them in the theater again, like they've been doing.
Yeah, it starts at 7 p.m. on Thursday, the 3rd, I believe, and then it goes in a chronological. So if you want to see Empire and New Hope,
I would
you
have
gotta
to be
go
like 2, 3, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. But I think I'm good.
Thankfully, I've seen them all. When episode 7 came out, they did marathon 1 through 7, and I got to see that, which is great.
That's cool.
But similar, you know, I have those very distinct memories of Star Wars. Like I still have my DVD box sets on the shelf over there.
Yeah.
I remember getting that box set of VHSs and DVDs both at different times, but of the original trilogy, because all I knew was episode 1, episode 2.
Yeah.
Before episode 3 came out, my mom got me the originals, and I remember sitting there all Christmas and just watching them.
Yeah.
And they were fantastic. I
love them. Are they the unedited, untouched, pure versions?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's cool.
Yeah,
man.
The movies, man, they were just always a sanctuary for me, you know.
Yeah.
Like I just loved going. I remember 2008 was a really, really, really big year where I started getting a little more independent. My mom started letting me go to things kind of on my own and with friends. And so we would just save up. I would save up as much money as I could and just spend it on movie tickets.
Yeah.
I'd work with my grandpa or mow lawns or whatever the case. And I saw so many movies in 2007, 2008. And from there, that was kind of it. I still have like middle school worksheets that I have in like my closet. It's like, what's your favorite thing to do? And it's like, go to the movies. That's it.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it's kind of always been there, but I didn't know that it wasn't as serious until like after high school.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense because, like you said, you would have like your own money. You wouldn't have to be like, "Oh, hey, mom, can I borrow some money to go to?"
Yeah.
Can I go 12 times? Like,
yeah. No. Oh, we snuck into so many movies. we snuck into
dude.
so many.
I wonder how hard that is now because like everyone has a seat, unless you're gonna like sit in the very front on like a 3 weeks after. I guess kids aren't movie hopping as much as we did back in the day.
No, and I mean, I had a couple friends. I got lucky. I got a couple friends who were on the ban list, getting caught. And we were like, oh, no, not with them. But yeah, those were fun times, man.
Yeah,
like dude. I'm sorry, movie theater, for not paying you, but I was broke.
We were broke. You've definitely paid that back in like popcorn and
for sure,
snacks
you're
and
right.
Stuff. Like
we paid it back.
Yeah, you paid it back. What's your favorite movie theater experience?
The one that I'll say, this isn't it, but this is one of my favorites. I went to Las Vegas when I turned 21. I don't drink, and I didn't drink or anything. I didn't party. Me and my friend went. We ate food, and then we saw Manchester by the Sea was playing at the theater out there, and it wasn't playing where we live.
Okay.
And so I was wearing some dress shoes, sort of, and we looked at the map and we're like, oh, it's like a half-mile walk or a mile walk. We're already walking anyways. Let's just walk, we don't need an Uber. Just walk. So we started walking, and then the sidewalk ended, and it was just gravel and rocks. And I was like, I guess we can't really call an Uber right here because it's just like the busy street going into the city.
Yeah.
So we just footed it. By the end, my feet were bleeding, and then I went in to watch Manchester by the Sea, which I did not know what it was about.
Oh,
my friend just told me, "Hey, you're gonna love this movie."
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay. And that movie, I did love it. But it's incredibly emotional.
Yeah.
But that's kind of one of my favorites. Walking until my feet bled, and then going and watching a very, very, very sad movie in Las Vegas
on your 21st birthday. No, that sounds rad. That sounds like a cool memory. I know I asked you what's the movie you watched most in the theater. Do you have a movie that you watched most at home?
There's a thousand club.
There's a
thousand club that I have, because there's multiple movies that I've seen over 1,000 times.
That's insane, but please.
Yeah, so it's not many. It's just Jurassic Park, Episode 7, La La Land, and Manchester by the Sea, and Rocky. So it's 5.
Wow, what a list, man! That's cool.
Yeah.
See, that's and that's why I have Eli on the show. When I say cinephile movie buff, I'm not joking. Like, Eli is all about it. You like watch the Oscars and everything.
Yeah, but it's like I think that like cinephile sometimes gets a negative
it does
connotation. Like, oh, he's a cinephile. Like, I watch it all, man. I saw Dune and I loved it. I saw Poor Things and I loved it. I'm gonna go see Godzilla vs. Kong, and guess what? I'm sure I'm gonna have a good time. Love it. I don't know.
Yeah,
a good
we'll
time.
See. That's yet to be seen. Yeah. What's your favorite movies from this year so far, or top 3?
Ooh.
If you have, because I mean we're still early in the year.
I saw Poor Things this year, even though it came out last year. Does that count?
No, but
okay. Okay, Dune is on there. Dune's an easy one.
Dune's easy. Yeah, Dune's easy.
Dune's an easy one.
Because so let me preface it while you're thinking about it. The viewers, Eli has recommended movies, and they've all been spot on. So when I say, Eli, what have you liked? What have you watched? I'm very bad at watching movies on time. But the ones that Eli's recommended, such as Woman King, I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm so glad you watched that. Yeah,
I did. On the plane.
And you know what? That's one more thing. Mm-hmm. I know you talked earlier about how you have a hard time watching movies multiple times in the theater, right?
Yeah.
My whole thing with that, and now, like, it's been years. Things have happened. I have a better TV than I used to, better sound and all that kind of stuff. But my whole thing was, like, I had a pretty TV, and like my soundboard wasn't good, and so like going to theater felt like such a premium that if I really liked a movie, I'm like, I have to see this as many times as I can in this setting before I gotta watch it at home.
That makes sense. I'm really bad, dude. I'll watch stuff on my phone and like,
oh man,
I know it's rough.
I get it. I can't
I mean, I'm a dad, so I'm like, well, kid's asleep, or she's watching. She has the reign of the TV, so I'm like, okay, well, I'll just watch something on my phone. But I think the other reason why I watch movies once is because if I have a great experience in the movie theater, I don't want to tarnish it by watching it again as like a second go around. That might be weird, but that's usually how it goes, and it's a time factor too. Like,
yeah. I mean, I get it, because nothing's worse than loving a movie and seeing it again and being like, oh,
like, oh, that wasn't as good.
Especially you bring someone like, oh man, you gotta come see this,
yeah,
and then you're watching it,
watching them watching the movie. Yeah, because I do that with like content. Like I'll like recommend a video to someone, or I'll just show them on YouTube, and I'm like kind of watching them, and if they're not having the same reaction, I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have recommended that. But yeah, did you find a list?
So here, let me ask the parameters again. Does it has to have come out this year, right?
Yeah, 2024.
Okay, what am I?
There hasn't been that many.
I've watched so many movies this young year, but a lot of them came out last year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, because the stuff I've seen in the theaters, nope, that's 2020.
Okay, well, give me, and I know you put a list out on Instagram.
Yes.
What's your favorite 3 from last year then? We'll make it
a horrible list, I will say, but
no,
I will give you that.
Horrible.
The thing is, I rushed the list out, and so it's not horrible that what's on there is bad. It's horrible that what's not on there is bad.
Yeah, because didn't you make it and then watch movies after, and you're like, I should have changed.
That always happens, but like this time, I was like, oh my god, it's about to be New Year's. I have to like get this. I had friends over New Year's Eve, and I'm like at my computer trying to put this list together. My favorite movie last year was The Holdovers.
Yeah.
I think that Oppenheimer was always going to win Best Picture, but darn it, I was rooting for Pauly G to bring home that Best Actor Oscar. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Godzilla Minus One.
Godzilla Minus One was good.
What a movie! What a movie!
I'm
budget.
Yeah, which is crazy because I watched it. I'm not a big Godzilla fan. Like I'm not. Sure. I don't consume a lot of Godzilla content. But due to recommendations and hearing good reviews, I'm like, oh, I'll go see it. And I was like, oh man, this is like a really roller coaster of emotion, and Godzilla was actually like frightening. I was actually kind of like scared when he showed up, and I was like, this is kind of cool. So I really enjoyed Godzilla Minus One.
I'm gonna give you a quick 5.
Give it to me,
because I can't do 3. So obviously we had The Holdovers.
Yep.
Godzilla Minus One.
Okay.
I'm gonna go D&D. Love that movie.
Yeah, let's go.
Love D&D. It's on there.
Among Thieves.
I'm gonna go with Wonka.
Yes.
Love that movie.
Yes,
Wonka's on there. And my last one, and I still need to watch Anatomy of a Fall, which I'll probably watch today.
Okay.
And there's a couple movies that I still haven't seen from last year, but my 5th one, I feel like it's either Air or it's
on my list.
It's Poor Things. I think Poor Things might be it, just because that movie's such a roller coaster, and I think Emma Stone she won the Oscar for a reason.
Yeah.
She deserved it. That was fantastic. So those are my quick 5.
I love that you put Wonka, and we just had a conversation about it, how it was like kind of a sleeper in Christmas.
Yeah.
I recently just watched it on the plane, and I was like, this is really fun. So like, if you guys haven't seen Wonka, definitely check it out. It's not like it's obviously not the original, right? But there's still
like it more.
Oh wow, hot take, dude. Okay, so I don't know if you're doing this yet, but you should just review movies on YouTube. I don't know why I don't see more like just movie reviews, because you consume them so much. Like it should just be a 1-to-1. I'm gonna force you. I'm just gonna be like, hey Eli, we're gonna do a podcast, and I'm just gonna have you talk about the movie, and I'm just gonna put it on my channel.
It's something I always say I'm gonna do, and then I don't. So you're right. This is my moment of
right. This is actually the intervention podcast. It's not even about content. Like, Eli, this is what you need to do. No, dude, like I think like you have a lot of good content, and I want to expose you to more people, because I think you put out great stuff and a very thoughtful and mindful insight to it. One last question. What is in the content that you've made, what's one of your favorite pieces of content that you've made or that you've enjoyed?
That's easy, actually. That's easy. I would say that as far as what I've made, Celebration Cantina, because I made great friends from it. You, Sylvia.
Yeah.
like I actually made videos with, and I've made more videos with, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
We've actually hung out like in person.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like I've made, and then just Twitch in general, I would say would be just because I've met people and I've made like legit friends.
Yeah.
And also the craziest thing about Twitch is like I've rekindled friendships. Not that they were like tarnished.
Right.
It's just people who I hadn't talked to in years.
Yeah.
I mean, elementary school. Like there's people who are like, "Hey, dude, you remember me?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know who Twix Man 46 is." And they're like, "Oh, it's me." And it's just really cool. So I think that anything cool. That I know it's kind of like a cop out answer, but that's probably the best part of any of it. It's just meeting people and making friends through it. But as far as like quality goes, I would say
I think it's quality.
Probably still the celebration cantinas have been the most fun to me. Yeah, I would say that.
Nice. Yeah. Those cantina ones are cool because like you said, you get to different aspects and when you and Sylvia did yours, like, me and Sylvia we're talking about it, and we talk a lot of Star Wars often.
Yeah.
After that, so even me and Sylvia being friends was something that grew off of your content, which is cool. We'll have to all three of us have to be in something soon,
dude. I know it's
like, I don't know why we haven't done it.
I've been trying to make that happen for so long, but like there have been things. I don't know how it hasn't happened yet. It needs to. You're right.
And now I can say, hey, you got to watch this podcast because we talked about you.
Absolutely. But like, one, I just want to thank you for having me on too. It's definitely an honor. I love you, man. I love your content. And even though like with Celebration Cantina, a big part of that was like getting to hear other people talk, which I love to talk, but I also love to hear other people talk.
Yeah.
It goes kind of both ways.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of allowed that. And then content creation, all I'll say is, if you want to do something, do it. Do it. I love this stuff. It's the medium. I really just want to be entertaining in some way, shape, or form. I try and write movies, whether they're good or not, I don't know, but I do that as a medium of trying to entertain and trying to get into it, right?
Yeah.
When I talked about moving earlier, when it didn't happen, I was trying to move to Atlanta because they're making movies in Atlanta. And I'm like, okay, I can go out and work there. Whatever the case is, just try it. Try it. If it sticks, that's awesome. If it doesn't, at least you tried it, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, that was another thing I was going to ask if you had piece of advice. That's great advice. I think just do it is probably, as cliche as that might sound.
I will say, I'm so sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But if it's like giving advice section, I have a little more to go on that.
Yeah, please.
I think that I know I mentioned it with Twitch where like always assume someone's watching.
Yeah.
But even with YouTube where it's not immediate, where it's delayed, you post a video and then you see if people watch it.
Right.
If you want to talk about something, nothing happens overnight.
Right.
I've been making content since 2018.
Okay.
Even before that, probably 2017. It's been 7 years, and like I've failed a million times. I put more money into it than I've made for sure. But the thing is, like, you just have to keep going. Like, if you really want to do it, you will keep going. If you don't want to do it, you'll stop. And that's kind of the fact of the matter. And also, there's always an excuse not to do it. I can't tell you how many things I bought to convince myself, like, oh, I can't do it until I buy this, and I buy it,
right.
And then it's like, oh, but I also need this. You could, if you want to shoot a podcast on your phone, shoot a podcast on your phone. Yeah. If you want to stream and you don't have a capture card or a PC, just stream. Whatever the case, there's a million reasons not to. I even do it still to this day. I have been saying I'm going to start shooting YouTube videos, and every day I get off work and I'm like, I'm not going to shoot a YouTube video. And so this is maybe this is toxic, but I forced myself to buy a new piece of equipment so that I'll use it to shoot videos, even though it's not going to affect the quality of my video.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, I got this new thing, and now I'm going to get back. And sometimes you just need that little spark to light the fire.
Right.
Whatever that spark is for you, great. I'm not suggesting maxing out the credit card, but that's not at all. But if don't let the what you do or don't have holds you back.
Right. No, I 100% agree, man. Because as much as I would love this to be the perfect, like, super HD production value to the T, you can have the perfect video, but no one would watch it. So it's better.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's actually better to have quantity over quality, and that
100%.
quality shouldn't stop you from taking that leap. So if anyone watching this, you know, if they're like, you know, I'll make my first video, because that's all. Just one video at a time, like once a month, or if you have the bandwidth, once a week. You know, it's just something. Because that's where I find myself. I'm like, when I was making Pokemon content, there was a point where I had too much footage to edit, and I got overwhelmed, and, you know, life just, you know, I had a kid and looking for work and stuff and working again. I had to step away, but I really, every time I go back to, like, hobbies, it always comes back to YouTube. Like, I'm a premium member. I'm consuming so much content. I'm like, I should just create content. So, it's just so easy to be in this space because I enjoy it so much, you know?
Yeah.
And you're going back to, like, the spark, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but whenever I do content with you, I'm like, oh, I want to do content. And I'm sure it's like the same way. It's like, we 100%. Just gotta feed off of each other in this whole content creating.
I think that's a great way of putting it. And, like, the other thing real quick, and I think it's super relevant, because you and I, we're not making the exact same videos or anything, but right. Like, there's definitely going to be crossover in, like, the things that we make, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's so much space. Like, it definitely sparks me to want to make more, not in a competitive aspect or anything like that, but, like, this is so fun. Yeah. This is definitely the highlight of my day. And it just gives you that, like, that feeling like, I want to do this more.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, this isn't necessarily related to that part, but what I said before, watch your favorite YouTubers' first videos. Oh, I guarantee you they don't look great. I guarantee you they're rough.
100%, because, like, I follow many YouTube channels, and I'm, like, not the type even to follow, like, the biggest YouTubers. Like,
sure, me either.
It's like kind of smaller content, but the difference between, like, your first year, like, just within a year, your stuff's gonna look different. Like, if you do anything for a year, there's gonna be a difference between when you started and when you ended. So, like, it's just the growing pains of it all, and to me, I'm like, let's just put it into practice and get better and hone. And because even just doing this, like, we're recording on Discord, we'd use OBS. That's all because of Eli. He was showing me and kind of walking me through all this stuff. So I've learned so much, as even he'll say, oh, I'm, you know, a smaller creator, you know, I'm not an influencer kind of thing or whatever. There's still a lot to glean from collaborating. Because, like, again, it's not competition. It's like, hey, I want to go up to the top. I want to make good content, and I want to bring my friends with me. Like, that's how I kind of approach content creating in this aspect. But
it's easy when you're friends too, but, like, I just love it. I love it. I think that that's kind of true. Like, you know, if I can help you by, I don't know, mentioning or helping out with something with OBS or Discord or whatever the case, I'll always happily do that, just because and not just because, but I know you do the same thing for me. Oh, and I've learned plenty from you, you know what I mean? And, like, you being on my page has helped it a ton, and just helped my confidence and helped me as a creator. So, like, it all comes back.
Right.
But I appreciate you having me on, man. It's honestly, dude, I'm so excited for this new channel, and I love the logo. Thanks, I love the name too.
Yeah.
It's all nice. Like, it's a nice. I like the old channel too, but this feels like I don't know. It feels like an upgrade. You know,
it does feel like an upgrade, which is weird, because I'm like, oh yeah, the Parade Ranger channel, like, that's my handle, so it's like, I've had it for years, but it didn't feel exactly right. But this actually feels right, which is weird. But yeah, thank you so much for being on the first episode of Core Creators. Eli, please plug what you got to plug. Where can we find you?
You can find me on OnlyFans you can find me on YouTube at the Fan Awakens. Same with social media. More active on Instagram than anything else, but we are on the other things.
Yeah.
And then Uncle_Sheev on Twitch. I don't stream every day, but I stream a couple days a week, usually at night.
If you're awake.
Yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me. Uncle Sheev and the Fan Awakens, pretty much on everything.
Awesome. I'll definitely throw that in the description. I have it in the other video too, so that people can find you, because I think you make great content. Thank you so much again for being on the podcast. I love you, bro. We'll have to.
Love you too, man.
Definitely. We're gonna have to do a live something or in person something,
For
because
sure.
we tried to plan it last time when I was down, and then we just didn't we didn't do it. But
See, the problem with that is that's the first time we met, and so you stayed here for a weekend, but we're just hanging out.
We're just hanging out.
And then we're like, we're gonna watch this stuff and then review it. We just watched it, and then we didn't.
We just didn't do it because we watched like Visions. We watched like all of Visions, and what a time.
Yeah.
That was Visions 2, season 2.
Awesome.
Yeah, but hey, let's do this. I want to see more video reviews from you, for sure, or movie reviews. Like you have to do, because like, dude, you're great at it.
I know.
And then we should plan for. I know you said you're a little cold on Acolyte, but I think we should do an Acolyte episode review like we did with Andor, because that was some of my favorite content that we did together.
I agree. Cold on Acolyte doesn't mean I won't watch it the day it comes out. Like I'll see, and I even the Star Wars that I'm not as hot on, I still watch it over.
We still watch it.
We still watch it. I still like a lot of it and love it. I love more than I don't like.
Yes. Yeah. That's Star Wars for you. Well, I'm definitely going to have you on again, and we'll do a little more talk about Star Wars in a subsequent video. But again, thank you so much. Everyone watching the content, thank you so much for watching this pod. Please like, subscribe, share the content. Commenting is huge. Please go check out Eli on his social media, his YouTube channel, his Twitch. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Punch it, Chewy. Boom!